At the United Nations General Assembly, one of the most important and influential filmmakers in the history of cinema and winner of 3 Academy Awards, Steven Spielberg, joined high-level UN officials and representatives from the Jewish community to honor the victims of the Holocaust on International Holocaust Remembrance Day.
And we know that justice lives in memory. We know that repressing memory, willed forgetting, is perhaps the greatest danger we face as a species. Because we've been spared, we know that despair is a choice, and we know that remembering is a choice.
Himself of Jewish descent, Spielberg is the creator of Schindler's List, one of the most memorable accounts of the Holocaust, portraying the life of Oskar Schindler, who saved thousands of Jews from their fate under Nazi Germany.
Survivors' powerful determination to contribute to a future without genocides doesn't come from leaving the Holocaust behind, from escaping history. Their determined demand is that we engage fully with history, that the Holocaust remain with us in memory. Theirs were journeys into the Holocaust. They cannot emerge from it, and neither can the world until there are no more genocides, until the unthinkable becomes impossible.
During World War II, 6 million Jews and numerous Roma, Sinti, homosexuals and political prisoners were robbed of their possessions, their liberties, and eventually their lives. In 1945, the United Nations was established with a firm commitment to end the scourge of war and reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, after the discovery of death camps built by Nazi Germany revealed the genocide that had occurred right under the eyes of the international community.
As an international community, we agreed that such horror and unspeakable cruelty would have no place in this world.
Tragedies from Cambodia to Rwanda to Srebrenica show that the poison of genocide still flows. We must be ever vigilant against bigotry, extremist ideologies, communal tensions, and discrimination against minorities. And we must teach our children well.
Remembrance is the beginning, not the end, of our responsibility. And while the world has never seen anything as horrific as the Holocaust, the duty we have is an urgent and active one: to confront evil, to defend truth, to unite in the face of threats to human dignity, and to strive to stop any who would abuse their neighbors.
Although the world pledged 69 years ago that it would never again tolerate such widespread and systematic genocide, those remembering the Holocaust here at the UN and around the world today stressed that an indifference to discrimination still exists today, feeding a culture of hate into the future.
The world is a terrifying place, not because of the bad people, but because of those who do nothing.
Hatred is universal. Racism is universal. Murder is universal, and genocide can be and has been universal.
Those who have survived the Holocaust, like Rina Finder, whose name was among the lucky few on Oskar Schindler's List, spent their lives reliving their extraordinary tale to make future generations aware of the mortal ripple effect of hate speech and the power of kindness and courage.
I am a survivor because I was on Schindler's List. I survived with my mother, and I survived with my grandfather, who was 75 years old, was probably the oldest man ever to survive. Oskar Schindler is the perfect example that people did not need to be helpless.
The Jewish people survived because courageous men and women stood up for what was right, and risked their own lives to save others.
Holocaust Remembrance Day is not just a day to remember a period of hate and violence that happened 7 decades ago. It serves as a remembrance of what is happening all over the world at this very minute, and will continue to happen as long as indifference to discrimination, segregation, and hate persists.
Why have successive generations after the Holocaust fallen victim to mass murder? If genocide is as unstoppable today as it seemed to be in the 1930s and the 1940s, don't we have to ask ourselves why bearing witness matters? Why gather testimony if genocide persists?
Today, we pay tribute to the dead and the living, to those who lived to tell their stories, as well as the countless, many, who never had the opportunity, those whose lights were snuffed out needlessly and cruelly before their time. We will never forget. We have not forgotten you.
This is Shari Nyman for South South News, reporting from the United Nations.